Biden releasing plans for over $3 trillion in tax increases over the next decade. That's to pay for his health care, climate change, and the education plans. About half would come from the wealthy and half from new corporate taxes. On the business side, he's proposing a new corporate minimum tax that would be aimed at companies like Amazon, Netflix that are profitable, but they sometimes pay no federal income taxes in certain years. That tax would be 15% on companies with $100 million in net income. The campaign estimates about 300 companies would be subject to that tax, and it would raise about $400 billion in revenue over 10 years. Now, he also raises the corporate tax rate to 28% from the current 21%. He would double the minimum tax rate on overseas income, and he also hopes to raise about $200 billion from cracking down on countries like Ireland and Bermuda that help companies lower their taxes. Now, on the wealthy side, he would raise the top tax rate back to 39.6%. Capital gains would be taxed the same as income for those making more than $1 million a year. That's where a lot of this revenue is going to come from. Now, he ends the step up in basis, which we talk a lot about on this show. That would tax unrealized gains at death. And he would cap deductions for the wealthy at 28%. Now, there is one small gift to high earners, at least those in high tax states. The campaign saying yesterday Biden would likely eliminate the $10,000 cap on state and local tax deductions. That would be enough for you to support Biden, wouldn't it?
A gift to the blue states.
Exactly.
I love the Warren anti-merger proposal so much, I'm switching back to her, I think. Thanks, Robert. For more on the potential impact on Biden's tax plan, let's welcome Jared Bernstein. Now I'm really worried because Jared, other people's tax plans, he wasn't the chief economist for them. So Jared, you must love this thing because it's your guy. He served as vice president's Biden's chief economist and economic policy advisor. He's now at the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities as senior fellow and a CNBC contributor. And Adam Michel, he's senior policy analyst with the Heritage Foundation. Jared, you have a way. You're so smooth that you have a way. Even with Elizabeth Warren stuff, you didn't really like it, but you say it in such a nice way that you got a couple of problems on the edges, but you think it's something we need to try to do. So you must love this one.
It's like I get people like you to think I like them because I just have this, crazy technique.
I know. I do that too. Anyway, and I love you. Anyway, go ahead.
Look, this is a plan that raises, as you just heard, over $3 trillion in revenue over 10 years, and it does so highly progressively, with the exception of the SALT cap repeal. And I'm glad Robert had that. That didn't come out until late yesterday. So that kind of goes the other way. But if you look at the amount of revenues proposed by the other candidates, Biden's low relative to even Buttigieg. I mean, Buttigieg is at $7 trillion over 10, and of course, Warren and Sanders are up around 30. So look, I mean, if a Democrat gets elected, they're going to try to raise taxes, and they're going to try to raise them on the high end, and that really is going to be the case no matter who wins. And now we have a whole continuum of plans from those that raise, as we've said, 3 up to 10 times that amount of revenue. So that's what we're looking at in terms of the scope.
All right, Adam.
I think this plan is anything but moderate. It shows how far left the progressive Elizabeth Warrens and Bernie Sanders have dragged the center of the Democratic Party. The plan that the vice president put out, it raises dramatically taxes on 8 existing taxes, adds 2 new taxes to the mix. And so I think these types of tax increases, a 10% increase in revenue, it would dramatically change the economy, halting the economic progress that we're currently seeing.
Adam, what do you think the increase in the corporate tax rate, what impact will that increase have on capital formation, business formation in this country?
Yeah, well, there's 2 different pieces. One is the increase in the corporate rate. The second one is a new minimum tax, which gets at limiting the deductions businesses can take for new investment in the United States. These 2 things paired together would have dramatic consequences for the things that we know benefit workers the most. It's new factories, it's updated equipment, it's research and development, all here in the United States that ultimately leads to productivity increases, that leads to the wage increases that we're seeing across the board for American workers. And so raising, every time we've seen corporate taxes go up around the world, across the U.S. states, we see workers, the growth in workers' wages go down. And that's what I fear would come under this proposal.
So, look, we took us about 60 seconds, but we're now having the old argument about trickle-down supply side, and I'm not going to rehearse that with this team because we've done it so many times. I will say
that crummy Reagan era was so unproductive for the United States. Your revisionist history, supply side doesn't work anymore, so higher taxes are actually good, and we get good economics.
Let's be specific. Let's be specific. Exhibit A. When Trump cut the corporate rate as sharply as he did, everybody on this show told me that it was going to mean a boom for business investment. In fact, it's been nothing of the sort, and in fact, it's been a negative.
Nothing to do with the trade war, slowdowns in Europe. 3.7% unemployment doesn't impress you?
I will never be able to convince you that this is supply-side fairy dust. So let me talk about something else. I won't. I get that.
Never.
You and others, probably everybody sitting there, has expressed to me great concern about the budget deficit and the rising debt. So at the same time, you reject every single tax plan that comes down the road. Even this one, which I've already explained to you, comes in far more moderate in terms of its tax collection than any other plan out there. So I am convinced that you won't support anything in the interest of a more responsible fiscal policy.